Combat, building your own boat, building your own base, leveling your own crew, researching new components, crafting new parts, PvP. It is all part of this new MMO called Age of Water. This new MMO by Three Whale Studio, published by Gaijin, is shaping up to be a really fun naval MMO. You already have World of Warships, which scratches a different itch. You have, to some extent, Gaijin's naval version, which scratches another type of naval warfare itch. But this sits somewhere in the middle and adds elements of, let's say, Borderlands, Crossout, which is another Gaijin title, as well as, well, to some extent, Sid Meier's Pirates from way back in the day. Let's have a look at this game. First things first, the game key was provided to me by Gaijin Entertainment, for which I'm grateful. Now, a bit about the world that you find yourself in. The polar ice caps have melted, and as that happened, a lot of the world has flooded. Potentially a bit more than it should have, but hey, this is the game setting. The only things that are still left standing are the tops of very tall buildings, maybe some mountains are still sticking out of the water, and of course we have everything that floats. Submarines, boats, there were survivors. But these survivors now fight each other in a Borderlands-esque setting. When you first get into the world, you find yourself on this dinghy. It is a rubber boat, it has a bit of a frame on it, it has no guns, and you have exactly one outboard engine and a steering wheel. Welcome to the world. The game then starts introducing you to the controls as well as the HUD. Top of the screen you have the compass, where do you want to go? Bottom right hand side you got the minimap, and top right hand side you have the quests as well as the progression of the quests. Bottom of the screen has the information about your boat, its speed, how much power you have, how much energy you have stored in the battery, and the, let's say, structural integrity of your boat. How much damage have you taken and how much more can you take, as well as how much are you carrying. This is important because if you carry too much or take on too much water, well, you'll sink. Very soon you're introduced to Kitty Sark. She's your first crew member. Crew is going to be useful for not only repairing your boat and crafting new components, but also, of course, manning the guns. Kitty Sark is the first shooter that you get introduced to. And this is also where you start to get introduced to, let's say, the game's style. And this is why I mentioned that the game is a bit Borderland-esque. It's somewhat cartoonish, which might turn some people off. But I do recommend giving it a shot, because once you get used to it, once you get over the first, oh wow, this is not very serious, it does have a good game behind it. Kitty then introduces you to your first weapon by picking up a machine gun, and also introduces you to the building element of this game. Now, as this is a small rubber dinghy, I don't really have a lot of parts, or room for parts anyway. Once you place the machine gun in a spot of your choosing and exit the builder, Kitty is automatically going to man the machine gun. Time for some combat. This is where you will encounter your first Sharkies. These are PvE enemies, and they are basically, well, what used to be people. They're supposedly some sort of mutant on jet skis with guns. They are the smallest enemy you can face, but eventually they'll also start, let's say, teching up or getting better boats. They'll become a bigger threat once they get their own dinghies, potentially with cannons, flamethrowers, flak guns, and all other manner of destructive devices. Weapons in this game come with their own ammunition. Fortunately, you don't have to buy it, it just spawns on the boat, if you will. Machine guns can get reloaded very quickly, and keep in mind that weapons in this game can overheat. You cannot just fire your machine guns all the time, because at some point the machine gun is going to overheat. You'll have to spend a couple seconds letting it cool down. Once you've taken down some of these threats, you can pick up the salvage that they leave behind, and that is going to allow you to further develop your boat. With the components that you pick up, you can eventually craft new items for your boat, such as armor plating, new guns, potentially later stages, new superstructures, once you have those researched. A little later, you'll fight a bigger threat. This is the first dinghy that you encounter. And this is also where you can see a bit more information about the status of the enemy boat. Right now, I'm shooting up one of the sides of the boat, and as that happens, the side can completely collapse, leading to a hull breach and the complete destruction of the boat. It is also possible with this other dinghy to start puncturing through sides of the boat, causing it to fill up with water. Boats have a carrying capacity, and in this particular point you can see that the boat is flooding. That's the 3824 ramping up quickly. If the total mass of the boat, let's say the total buoyancy of the boat, is overcome by the sheer amount of water inside the boat, it will sink. So it is entirely possible for you to engage a boat, do a whole bunch of damage to it, and then run away, letting it flood. Do keep in mind that this works both ways. Your boat, too, can have a hole in the hull. To some extent, you can pump this water out, but if you have too many holes in the hull, your pumps cannot keep up. You're going to be forced to do some emergency repairs. This will take all of your shooters away from their guns and make you essentially defenseless, aside from having your mobility to run away from a fight. As you keep progressing, you'll find more weapons, you'll find a generator, which is that little windmill aboard the boat. You'll find batteries to increase the amount of energy that you can store, and you'll keep upgrading your boat with new components. This will also allow you to start setting up weapon groups, so you don't have to fire all guns at the same time. It'll allow you to manage your crew, have these guys do specific things, such as you can have more of your crew just being shooters, but if nobody's manning the pumps and you have taken on water, you might soon sink. Fairly soon you'll be introduced to 3 Whale City, and yes, that is indeed 3 submarines strapped together. In the city you'll find additional NPCs, allowing you to pick up quests, do some trading, as well as they'll explain what factions are available in the game. Now, you don't have to pick a faction, you can just stick to the PvE content, you don't have to do PvP. And this is a good moment to introduce the various currencies that you have in the game. Right now there's 2. There's corks, which is your basic coin. You use this to buy supplies, buy additional components, buy additional weapons. The other in-game currency is called medallions, and this is where it gets interesting. Medallions are earned in PvP content, as well as given to you if you buy the gold version of the game. Because yes, at the moment of making this video, this is a game that you purchase. This is not an MMO that you sign into for free and then use microtransactions. Yet. Because it is a Gaijin title, and as such, it is not entirely impossible for Gaijin to eventually add a buy more medallions button. When that comes up, it is possible that this does turn into a pay to win. Because with these medallions, you can install, for example, power banks, which can grant you a lot of additional energy. They also have perfectly harmless items like a titanic foghorn, you have a naval lamp, you can buy rare resources, which will help you build out your boat even further, or for example, just get some military paint, which is again cosmetic. It is, at the moment, I'd say, not pay to win. And that is very important at the moment. Will Gaijin be able to resist the temptation to add this buy more medallions button? Are they going to be satisfied with people just buying into the game? I, for one, would be perfectly okay with keeping medallions as a purely in-game resource that you can earn through PvP and earn through quests. The moment that this becomes something that you can just easily purchase, well, all bets are off. Being able to buy extra armor with these medallions and being able to armor up your boat to such an extent that other players can't touch you anymore, well, if you can purchase those with euros or dollars or whatever currency have you, yes, then it does become pay to win. Right now, though, not yet. In the game, you can join one of several factions, ranging from loners, which is basically playing solo, to rangers, upholding the law, couriers, which are smugglers, pirates, well, speaks for themselves, and headhunters, bounty hunters. Outside of all of those factions, there's also, and this is something that all factions can do, exploring. The world has flooded, but that does not mean that everything has vanished. You have a dredging rig on the back of the boat, and with that, you'll be able to start dredging up all sorts of treasures. Through one of the quests, you'll be able to start locating these treasures and then dredging them up. And if you get plentiful loot, you might just find something rather valuable. So even just peacefully exploring and, let's say, farming the old world can be a viable way to play the game. As much as a nomadic life might appeal to you, you also get a base. This is where you will also get introduced to various different characters as well as the tech tree. Keep in mind, this is an early access game and this is the tech tree as is. In order to use some of these tech trees, however, you'll have to get a scientist, which introduces further quests. The base is where you start getting additional construction options, not just building the base, but also getting some resource production going. You can store your found resources here, so you don't have to lug everything along. And of course, you can build additional boats. You can start crafting these. You can have various boats for various different missions. Maybe one specific fishing boat that you take out if you want to start doing some calm exploration. Maybe a mining boat, if you will, that has the dredging equipment on it. And a pure combat vessel. Please keep in mind here that I'm still very early game, and the hulls that you can see here are rank 1. Boats go all the way up to rank 5, and that is only in this current early access version. It is possible that later on we'll even see higher tier boats than that. Of course, the bigger your boat is, the more equipment you'll be able to mount on it, the more weapons, maybe the more cargo capacity, depending on whether or not you actually have the right hull for that. Your boats might also become slower, as bigger boats tend not to be as quick as the early ones. But thankfully, this depends largely on what exactly you put on the boat. Outboard engines, additional fans, I've even seen boats with jet engines being able to go pretty fast for a boat that size. Thankfully, you won't have to wait long until you get your bigger boat. This is still a rank 1. It's a Scotty boat, and with this I also get my first boat cabin, as well as what can be somewhat considered superstructure. That platform is optional, but it would allow you to start using something of, let's say, a turreted build. This, let's say, higher level boat, although it is rank 1, is also where the versions of the game that you can buy start to diverge somewhat. Because the gold version gives you this Scotty boat, the base version of the game gives you a slightly different rank 1 boat. Thankfully, this is only early game. It's not like higher game you'll also get access to higher boats, which the base version of the game does not. And this, much like medallions, remains to be seen. How much can Gaijin resist the temptation to start monetizing the living crap out of this game? Because it is of course entirely possible to start introducing microtransactions with boats that you can only get by actually buying them. I really hope we're not going to see that, but I'm a bit skeptic about whether or not we will actually have those boats be added to an in-game store. If they will get sold, for example, for medallions, which again you can only earn in-game through PvP or quests, perfectly fine. But I wouldn't put it past Gaijin to at some point introduce boats that can only be had by bringing out your credit card. I can only hope that Three Whales Studio is able to resist that pressure that Gaijin might be putting onto them. The game seems to be using an episodic theme, which means that, as it says in the main menu, the next episode, Against the Tide, is scheduled for summer 2024. Right now, no thing like a battle pass is in sight, and I hope that these episodes just get released time and time again to keep it interesting for players to keep coming back. Right now, I cannot speak to how much endgame there is. I haven't reached that part of the game yet. So, unfortunately, I cannot really give you an opinion on that. I have seen people on Reddit say that the endgame is limited. You can farm, you can build a bit more of your boat, and that's about it. But getting up to rank 5, of course, will take a lot of time. And thankfully, hopefully by that time, we'll have the next episode with more content. This is again where I hope that the game developers are able to resist Gaijin's, let's say, tendency to introduce battle passes. Yes, battle passes make a ton of money, but that is for most of the time free games. I understand that somebody has to keep the hamster wheels at Gaijin, the servers at Gaijin running. As for playing together, this is an MMO, so it should be possible for you to start playing together with your friends, and you can. Unfortunately, as of right now, which is May 1st, 2024, you can join a party, and that basically means that if you're doing PvP, you'll still be on the same team. Outside of that, unfortunately, there does not seem to be a whole lot of co-op content yet. Hopefully this is something that will get added rather soon, because I do believe that playing together makes the game more enjoyable. As for the future of the game, we'll see how it goes. I'm interested in playing more. I want to figure out what other weapons are available, what bigger hulls are available. I haven't actually done a whole lot of boarding yet, so I still have a lot to improve there. I want to see a lot more about this game. And I really, really hope it's going to develop in the right way. Which means not a whole lot of microtransactions, if any. And if you do have to add microtransactions, at least make them cosmetic only. I hope we'll see co-op soon, or more co-op that is. I hope we'll see a lot more hulls get introduced. I hope we'll see interesting new events pop up. I want to see how this game develops. I'm interested in playing more. I am carefully optimistic about the future of the game, but we'll have to see how it goes. Now, I hope this video has given you a bit of an overview of Age of Water. If it has, please give the video a like so more people can find it. If you have any questions or any comments, post those down below and I might be able to answer or address them in a future video. And other than that, I might see you around on the high seas, Age of Water.